Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're really digging into diversity, equity, and inclusion in education. We're using material from the Inclusive Classroom podcast as our guide.
Yeah, the goal is to unpack these terms, right? Understand what they actually mean and why they matter so much for learning environments.
Exactly. And maybe get us thinking, have you ever considered the difference between just, having a mix of people versus really creating a space where everyone feels they belong and can actually thrive?
That's a great starting point.
Yeah.
So diversity, the podcast defines this as the presence of differences. Simple as that, but broad.
Differences in what sense, though?
Well, it covers a whole range: race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic background, religion, different abilities, even learning styles. It's the whole spectrum.
Right. And the podcast highlights that having that variety isn't just about, well, demographics.
Mhm.
It actually enriches the classroom, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You get these richer discussions because people bring different cultural traditions, different viewpoints. It can even lead to more innovative problem solving, apparently.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Different perspectives tackling the same issue. But, okay, the podcast also seems to say diversity alone.
Hmm.
It's just step one. Yeah.
Precisely. It's not the end goal. That's where equity really comes into play.
Okay, so how does equity fit in?
Equity is about acknowledging that, well, not everyone starts from the same place. Some students face systemic barriers or disadvantages that others just don't encounter.
Ah, okay, so it's about fairness.
It's about fairness and justice, yes, but specifically, it's about giving people what they need to reach similar outcomes. The podcast uses this idea of the right fit.
Like not giving everyone the exact same shoes, but shoes that fit each person.
Exactly like that. It's not about sameness, it's about providing the specific supports or resources needed to level the playing field, addressing those underlying barriers.
Got it. So diversity is the mix. Equity is making sure everyone has a fair shot, the right support. What about inclusion then? Where does that come in?
Inclusion is maybe the feeling part. It's the active process of creating an environment where every single individual feels valued, respected, and can genuinely participate. It's about belonging.
So it's active, not just passive tolerance.
Definitely active. The podcast stresses that. It means intentionally removing barriers to participation, making sure different voices are actually heard and valued, celebrating those differences instead of just noting them.
Right, making people feel seen and heard, like their contribution matters.
Uh-huh. And when you have that kind of inclusive environment, the podcast suggests students are more engaged, they're more motivated, ultimately they're more successful.
Okay, so you could have a diverse classroom, technically.
But if it's not equitable, if some students lack support, or if it's not inclusive, where some voices are ignored.
Then you haven't really achieved the goal. They all have to work together.
Exactly. The podcast really emphasizes their interconnectedness. Diversity without equity and inclusion. It's insufficient. You need all three, cultivated intentionally.
So the aim isn't just ticking boxes for diversity numbers.
Yeah.
It's about intentionally building this whole ecosystem, diversity, equity, and inclusion, so that ideally every student can flourish.
Precisely. So they can bring their unique talents, feel like they belong, and, become engaged citizens in a diverse world. That's the bigger picture.
Makes sense. So quick recap then.
Sure. Diversity, the presence of difference. Equity,
Yeah.
fairness through providing necessary, sometimes different, support for equal outcomes. Inclusion,
Yeah.
actively creating that environment of belonging and participation.
Perfect. Okay, so for everyone listening, as you think about these three pillars, diversity, equity, inclusion, here's something to chew on. What's maybe one small change, something you could observe or even try out in your own environment, whatever that might be, to help foster a stronger sense of belonging and opportunity for everyone involved?
That's a powerful question to end on.
Definitely worth considering. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.